Yes, everybody, welcome to Transfer Talk. Thank you for joining us. If you've not seen it already, then I do suggest once you finish this video, you go and check out the podcast that we did with Simon Stone this morning. And if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button because we are now literally about 1,000 away from that big 100,000. I still do want to know what you guys would like me to try and do for the 100,000 celebration video. All the lads, we're going on the piss and we're going doing a bit of go-karting. That's what we're doing. But what do you want me to do video-wise? Right, so today we're going to talk about Paul Pogba. What a divisive character this guy's been since he joined Manchester United for a world record fee back in 2016. For me, I think he's been our most consistent player in those 3 years. And a lot of people won't agree with that. But Paul Pogba has created the most chances. He's looked like the only genuinely world-class outfield player that we've had in that time. And at times he's frustrating, and at times he's lazy, and at times he does your head in, and at times he makes the wrong decision. And that's probably indicative of the lack of leadership around us, the lack of other good world-class players around him to make him look good as well. And Paul Pogba, if we lost him, I used to think it was the worst thing in the world. I now think, do you know what? There's that Coutinho sort of element with what Liverpool did, where they went, do you know what? Yeah, we're going to get a massive fee for this guy. Let's transition that into sorting the defence out, sorting the goalkeeper out. If we was able, and we knew the Glazers would actually allow that money to be spent in areas that we had intelligently scouted and identified targets in, I would say, yeah, flip him. Flip him, and let's go with an entirely new structure to this team. We need a new spine, arguably from striker, midfield, defence, and plenty of argument for a goalkeeper. So why not go with an entirely new spine? Why not go with an entire system based upon what Ole Gunnar Solskjaer wants? Now, it's appeared today from Fabrizio Romano that Juventus have started talks with Mino Raiola and with Manchester United to take Paul Pogba back to Juventus. This saga, man. United, well, do you want to start him at Le Havre and all that lot first? But Manchester United, Juventus, back to Manchester United. Surely he can't bounce back to Juventus after all that, surely. The fact that Raiola's his agent, you go, well, maybe. He obviously had a good time in Turin. I think he won 4 back-to-back titles. Can't be argued with. Ended up in the World 11. Rabano and Damasio saying that Juventus are stepping up their interest in Paul Pogba. Now, one of the issues I have with this is that supposedly they're stepping up their interest in Paul Pogba because they can't afford Milinkovic-Savic. They want to pay 60 for him. He's valued at 90. I'm sorry, if they think they're going to get Paul Pogba for less than what they was trying to spend on Milinkovic-Savic, or they're not willing to pay 90 for Milinkovic-Savic, Pogba's got to be in the middle 150 range. So he's got to be 150, 160, 140, maybe at a push. He's in that range. He's at the peak of his career. He's got several years left on his contract. United do not need to sell him this summer. I'd be very shocked if they did. Now, there's other stuff coming out. In the Express, it says United want at least 100 million for him, but they could be tempted if Juventus make the right players available. Solskjaer's desperate to inject some fresh blood into the struggling squad. Now, publicly, Patrice Evra has said, I think that he will leave. You need to feel the love when you play somewhere. You need to be committed. This came out after the video of players being abused, mostly Paul Pogba, by United fans on the final game of the season from the bottom of the Stretford end. Because when I go to the game, I see fans shouting and swearing at players. I'm in shock. In my time, you can play the worst game of your life and they'll clap you. I remember the 4-1 game at Liverpool and they were still singing. That's the United fans I know. They've just had enough. The Mirror are saying that the United man will come with a hefty £160 million price tag. However, a swap deal could suit both sides, with us previously being linked with Dybala. Damasio also reckons that Pogba is open to returning to Juventus, but says that they can expect tough negotiations over the asking price and could make a player as mate weight. I think there's truth in Juventus wanting him. I think there's truth in them opening negotiations with Raiola. And I think there's truth that you could get him. My feeling, and what some people are saying, not in public, about Paul Pogba, is that he isn't going to go anywhere this summer. I don't think I don't think we, at this moment, should sell him. And this is actually peak Pogba time. If I was looking at it from a pure strategic business point of view, and I said, like, if we can get them players in that are going to make a difference, then maybe you can make an argument for that. But I think in the interest of Manchester United, I think you've got to keep Paul Pogba. I could actually see him being given the captain's armband next season. He is a fantastic footballer. You've seen what he does for France. You've seen what he did previously at Juventus with some fantastic midfield players around him. The problem with Pogba at United is, if you cut Paul Pogba out of the game, which used to happen with Ronaldo. Ronaldo used to be a flat track bully for ages. Cut Ronaldo out of the game. It wasn't easy, but it was doable. Well, opposition managers look at United and they go, right then, what's going to hurt us? Ashley Young's not going to hurt us, don't worry about him. Luke Shaw's probably not going to hurt us, don't worry about him. Matic, he's not going to hurt us, don't worry about him. What's going to hurt us? Pace in the final third and the transition of ball from Paul Pogba into that final third. Okay. Let's stop the final third. Balls from Pogba then. And that's what teams do. They double up on him. They mark him out of a game. It can be done. This can happen with every player and every team. But the top teams have got 2 ways to hurt you. 3 ways to hurt you. United don't. And that's the issue. With Manchester City, you go, do you know what? David Silva's an absolute nightmare. Let's double mark him. Cool. You've just left De Bruyne open. And that's not even just thinking about the other players that they've got into the final third. All right, we're going to try and keep hold of Aguero because he's top. Sound. Sterling's just snuck in behind you. All right, we'll watch Aguero. We'll watch Sterling. All right, Sane's just gone past you. That's what good teams do. Good teams have got multiple players that can hurt you. United could flip Paul Pogba and put an entirely new midfield that functions better. They could definitely do that. But I don't think we should look at doing that. I think we should definitely try and keep him, and I think we'd be a better team for keeping him. Let's get some likes on here. How close are we actually? Have we got... we're just about 1,000 off. I'm probably going to be live for another couple of minutes. There's enough of you here, although I imagine that you're all subscribed. There's enough of you here to push us over 100,000. If we do it before I finish the video, I'll shave my beard off on air. How's that sound? Is Rabiot coming? Says Chill Spot. I think Rabiot's a very serious prospect for coming for United. I think there's probably a lot of truth in that, yeah. Wan-Bissaka is the main man, says Ritesh. I do like Wan-Bissaka. Would I have Memphis back, says Love Hate Games. I'm not... I think he was shortchanged at United. I really do. I do think he was shortchanged, but no, I'd have to say no. Barry says, pissed off hearing about Pogba. Why can't the player just come out and say if he wants to stay or if he wants to go? I think you've got a good point on that. I spoke to a player in the United team not too long ago about that when there was ridiculous rumours linking them to someone that they would never go for. This is a player that, yeah, they'd probably leave United at some stage, probably. But not to who they was linking him to. They're utterly ridiculous. And I said, why don't you just come out and say that's a load of bollocks? He said, because then you set a precedent that you have to comment on every single rumour, whether it's true or false. You have to comment on them. Because the moment you don't comment on one, whether because you can't be asked because you've just commented on the last 10, people go, that's true. And it just creates more and more problems. He goes, so you have to just ignore everything. Which is a nightmare scenario to be in, isn't it? Because I'm sure that some players would love to go, I'm not fucking signing for Manchester City, you set of dicks, for example. Berenger says, I'd rather have Ndombele than Rabiot. I would agree. I would absolutely agree. But can you get him? One's probably a free transfer, one's probably 50, 60 million. But I would definitely agree. What do I think about Lozano? I think we're not being linked with a lot of wingers for a few potential reasons. And I think one of them is that we might go with a real narrow system. Should United bring in Harry Kane, says Ronan. I can share some statistics with you. We have got some very clinical strikers, and I know people don't like to admit that, but Lukaku and Martial, Rashford's 8.4 goals, 8.4 shots per goal. But Martial and Lukaku both way more clinical than Harry Kane is when it comes to shooting. Harry Kane would not get the opportunities at Manchester United to be able to score the goals that he needs. I think Harry Kane had, let me just double check. I've got some notes here. Let me find it. So the number of shots Harry Kane had this season was 102. In the Premier League, out of the main strikers, the only one who had more than him was Aguero. And obviously that Manchester City team is making tons and tons and tons of opportunities left, right and centre, isn't it? Sterling, Aguero, Kane, not as clinical as Martial and Lukaku. All of them scoring 17 and 21 goals. Mane, well clinical, super clinical, but only to the exact same attempts per goal as Martial is. 3.9 attempts per goal. 39 shots, 10 goals for Martial. 87 shots, 22 goals for Mane. Exactly the same. Marcus is 84 attempts and 10 goals. The crazy one, Cristiano Ronaldo, 177 attempts, 21 goals, 8.4, exactly the same as Marcus. Messi, actually less clinical than Lukaku, just on the data, although I'm pretty sure which one we'd rather have. 4.7 attempts per goal, 170 shots. The weird one about Messi is that Messi has more shots outside the box than he has inside the box. That's crazy. It's well harder to score by magnitudes, absolute magnitudes. It's harder to score from outside the box. Not as clinical because they have a ton more shots. Well, it's a sliding scale, mate. It's not. It's like if you flip a coin heads or tails, there is a 50% chance it lands heads or tails. You can't just say your chance of getting heads or tails decreases because you have 100 flips of the coin. It doesn't work like that. Martial in the front two, says Michael. I think Martial with the right player alongside him, and I don't think that's Marcus. I don't think Marcus and Martial are right for each other, but I think if you had Martial in a front two with the right player alongside him, he'd be absolutely lethal, to be honest. Stats don't mean shit, says James. Well, they do. They illustrate a point. How you use them and interpret them is up to you, but stats are important. Should more Premier League teams qualify for the Champions League? Are you joking? 4 is plenty. I mean, it's called the Champions League, not the who come fourth league, isn't it? Which is hilarious that Scouse has managed to win it twice, but in the last 15 years, but haven't won a league title in 30. What was the news about Callum Gribbin? Moving swiftly on. Did I ask Simon about the players coming to United? I didn't. Christian Romero says, hey Steve, I'm a Juve fan. I've heard from very reliable journalists that Pogba was a 5 to come and Pjanic was 5 out of 5 leaving. So what do I think about a Pogba Pjanic swap? Swaps are rare, to be honest. I mean, and I know that we did one last year with Sanchez and Mkhitaryan, but swaps are really rare. I don't think, from what I'm hearing this side, that he's a 5 out of 5 to go. Things can obviously change and he could definitely go, but I don't think it's 5 out of 5. Last summer, he was well close to going and they couldn't agree a fee, so we'll see. Do I still think Callum Gribbin is a potential world-class prospect in the academy? I wouldn't be surprised if he never plays football again, put it that way. Rabiot is overrated, says the Dark Assassin. Chuanzebe deserves to be our centre-back pairing after his season at Villa, says Jay Cavo. I don't know if he deserves to start, but he deserves his chance to prove what he can do. I absolutely agree on that. Anyway, make sure to like the video. Make sure to go and check out that podcast with Simon Stone if you haven't already. The podcasts are available on iTunes if you search my name, and also on Spotify as well, because people have been asking for them on Spotify. If you're listening to them on iTunes and Spotify, let me know, let other people know on Twitter and stuff like that. Make sure to subscribe if you haven't. Let me know how you want to see us celebrate the 100k, which I think is a real good milestone, honestly. It's the first big one that you get in it, so I'm going to be very happy about that. Should we manage to do it? I mean, we should now, shouldn't we? We're not just going to stop at 99 and then call it a day, hopefully. But thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you probably around about this time tomorrow for another little update on some of the other players that we've been linked to. Probably going to be talking about Maddison and maybe a couple of the younger players as well. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.